Alright, let's continue with our budgeting topic. So, let's take a look at this budgeting. So in the previous class we did the flexible budget. So today we have the functional or the master budget. Okay, so what do we have for the functional or master budget? So functional is departmental budget, so then we have master. Come, let's try a simple example. Budgeting page number 10, question number 2. Come. So, page number 10, question number 2. So, come, let's take a look at the functional budget. So where we are still under budgeting topic, which is page number 10. Alright. We manufacture 2 types of finished goods, A and B. Standard cost is given. So as there are 3 materials, 2 labors, budgeted inventory is given. Product A on 1st January and 31st December. So 1st January is our opening. 31st December is the closing. So what do we have? We have opening and closing for our finished goods, as well as opening and closing for our materials. So budgeted sales is given. 2004 and 2002. Prepare the following budget for the next year. What is your production budget, material budget, as well as a labor budget? Let's account for this. First, production budget. Production budget, we are actually focusing on the finished goods. How many types of finished goods we have? 2, A and B. Two types of finished goods, we have A and B. Before you produce, you must know how many quantity we need to sell. So, sales. What do you have for the sales? Product A, how many quantity? 2004. However, are we going to produce 2,400 units? No, because at the beginning we already have how many? We already have how many quantity? We already have 400, so we reduce our production because for the opening we already have 400. So we produce 2,000 plus opening 400, we have enough to sell. But the thing is, we need to keep closing. In order to keep closing, we have to produce more. So we have to increase the production. So we have to add back the closing to increase back the production by how many units? 500. So whatever you have is your production budget. So we are required to produce 2005 after the adjustment of the opening and closing inventory. Can you try for the product B? Okay, so remember our production is going to be the finished goods. So you try the product B. What if for product B? How many quantity? Budgeted sales 3,000. 2. At the beginning we already have 800. So by right we just produce 2,000. 2004. But we need to increase production in order to keep closing. So what is the closing inventory? 1,001. So what do we have? 3,500. So B and C, material budget. How many types of material? 3. A, B, and C. Sorry, it's not A, B, C. What is that? X, Y, and Z. What is for X, Y, Z? Shall we? Before you buy, you must know how many quantity we need to use. To know how many quantity we need to use, we need to know how many quantity we have to produce. So, based on the production, how many products we have? A and B. Based on the production, how many quantity we supposed to produce for A? 2005. For B? 3,500. And we say that every unit we produce for A, how many kilograms of X is needed? So we need 24. How about for B? Material X for B is how many kilograms? It's going to be 30. So can you calculate? 2,500 units. One unit 24 kilograms. So we have 60,000. 3,005, 30 kilograms each. So, what is the total? Material usage? $165. The question is, are we going to buy 165 even though we need to use 165? No, because at the beginning we already have how many kilogram in the inventory? At the beginning we already have 30,000, so we don't need to buy so many, but we need to increase the purchase in order to keep closing. So that's why we have to add back the closing inventory to increase the purchase to keep closing. It's going to be 35. So after the adjustment opening closing, what do we have is going to be our material purchase in quantity. So how many we're supposed to buy? $170. How much is the cost per kilogram? How much is the cost? It's $2. So our material purchase in dollar. So can you try for material Y and Z? So what do you have for Y? For material Y, how many kilogram for A? 10 kilogram and 8 kilograms. So what do we have for this? We produce 2005 for 10, 25,000 and 20 total 53. But we are not going to buy 53 because at the beginning we already have 25. But to keep closing, we have to increase the purchases. 27. So how many? 55. How much per kilogram? Is it $5? 275. Now what happened to Z? 5 kilograms and 10 kilograms. So 2005, 5 kilograms each. 3005, 10 kilograms. 35. So we have 47,500. However, we are not going to buy that much because at the beginning we already have 12 and the closing. We need to keep more, purchase more in order to keep closing. So we add back the closing. So in total we have how many? 48,000. How much each kilogram? $6. $288,000. D. Question asked for the labor budget. Remember, for labor budget, no opening closing. We cannot work as hard today. Tomorrow no need to go office. Not possible. Are you right? So what do we have? There are how many types of the labor? 2. One is unskilled. How about the other one? Skilled. How many hours we need to use? It depends on how many quantity we produce. So based on our production, again, the production quantity is 2,500 and 3,500. how many hours will be needed? For unskilled, 10 and 5 hours respectively. What is the labor hours required? You multiply with the hourly rate. Then we will have a labor budget. Remember, we do not have opening closing for this. For unskilled, how much an hour? $6. Come, you try for the skill. For skill, product A, how many hours? 6. Product B, again, it is 5. So 6 hours for 2,500 units. 5 hours, 3,005. It will be 17,500. So total hours 32,500. How much an hour we pay? 10. So do you have 325? Everyone? So I demonstrate to you what is functional. But usually in the exam they don't really ask because it's too easy. Okay. Yes. So what am I going to do? I'm going to actually explain the remaining for your budget. So okay, let's take a look whatever that we have for this. So incremental budgeting and zero-based budgeting. Then I'm going to explain whatever the remaining. Are you right? So come, let's take a look at what is incremental budgeting. So, budget or the acca for 2018, I add on the incremental. Whatever that I will have is going to be the budget for 2019. So usually the incremental, for example, is like the inflation. For incremental, the approval is required. However, for the budget, no approval needed. In order to include as part of a 2019 budget. What do we like this? Easy or the quick method. But what is the problem? Whatever that they overspend, in 2018 will be included as a 2019 budget again. So that's what we name it as budgetary slack. In actual, our spending is not that much. And furthermore, you're afraid that in the future company don't give you a strong budget. So what is going to happen is the manager, we encourage the managers to spend up to the maximum budget given. What is it so? Because they're afraid in the coming year later they are not given their budget as what they used to have. So how to overcome the budgetary slack? That's why we implement zero-based budgeting. What is zero-based budgeting? This is in short form I name it as ZBB. This is the budget. It's going to be begin. Our budget will be begin from zero, or name it as scratch. All the expenditure must be justified before included in the budget. So what do we have? We always have questioning attitudes for the justification. of the expenditure. So we always question, would it be necessary? Why is it we have to pay? Do we have any other better alternative? So they will question, why do I need to give you increment? Why have to pay you extra salary compared to previous year? Justify. If you cannot justify, then you will get the same pay like what you have for the last year. Alright? That's why as a staff, we don't really like zero-based budgeting. But from the business perspective, it is good to have zero-based budgeting. Okay? So that you can avoid unnecessary spending. Are you right? Have you ever go for the traveling any places? You feel like you wanted to buy something as a souvenir. But have you ever think, after you buy, what are you going to do with it? Is it you left it at home? Or is it at the one corner of your cabinet, which no one is actually bothered about it after that? So that's why sometimes before you want to buy stuff, right, you think and see, is it necessary? Do you have a use of it? What are you going to do with it? Where are you going to keep it at your home? Is there any usability? Justify it before you spend. So that's what we have for the zero-based budgeting. So you will start to have a lot of questions, to ensure, then if you be able to answer and everything justified, then only you buy. If it's not, then you don't buy. Are you okay? But usually when you go for traveling, you'll buy unnecessary things. That's what's going to happen. Okay? So, now what do we have? Other than this, as in, there are 3 stages involved. In zero-based budgeting. Number 1, we define the decision packages. What is decision packages? It is a detail. These are the detailed description of the activities involved in the business. So what do we have? As in, there are basic packages, is to fulfill the fundamental needs of a business. And we have incremental packages. These are the top-up packages. Act as the support activities. For the business. That's why we have differences between two of these. Number 2, what do? We are required to determine the ranking of those decision packages. the decision packages with the greatest benefits received will be ranked first. So number 3, we will allocate the resources. For the decision packages based on the ranking. Now, what do we have other than this? Problems with ZBB. So what are the problems with the ZBB? Number 1, as what do we have? It will involve bulky paperwork. When define the decision packages, this is especially for the large company, which will involve different type of activities. Number 2, the managers may lack of skills, which they are unable to define the decision packages. Number 3, difficulty when determining the ranking. So could it be qualitative or quantitative? Do you focus on quality or quantity? Next, So these are the problems with the zero-based budgeting. As usually, why do we don't like zero-based budgeting? Because it is time consuming. It's a waste of time. To justify the basic needs for a business. So other than the zero-based budgeting, what do we have? We have top-down approach. Or we name it as impulse style budgeting. You see, our organization split into how many levels? 3. What level do we need? Strategic, tactical, operational. Who said this? By who? This is by someone named as Robert Anthony. So usually I will name it as a Robert Anthony's hierarchy. I will let you know later. So, strategic. Top down, that means the top level, they are the one who prepare the budgets. Tactical operational, what they do, they just follow. What is the meaning of budget? When you prepare the budget, it's equivalent to setting the target for the coming year. So it means that the boss will set the targets for you. For you, you just follow, don't question. So what is the problems here? Tactical operational, they may be demotivated due to the unrealistic target. Whether you work hard or you don't work hard, also you couldn't achieve. So you better don't do long. What are the situations that we can use top-down approach? Number 1, for the newly formed company. Number 2, of course, the first time you go to work, right, and the company is new, so the boss will know what they wanted, so boss will prepare the budget. Number 2, during economic crisis, the strategic level are required to think of a strategy to rescue the business so that the budget will prepare by the strategic level. Are you okay? The boss have to think of a way to rescue the business during economic crisis. And you cannot tell your staff to think on how to overcome during the financial difficulty. Okay, so of course boss they themselves have to prepare the budgets. Number 3, when you have a small company or small businesses, as my company is very small, I do not have a lot of transaction, and usually this type of company, the shareholders, they are also the owner, they are also the manager. Are you okay? So as in the company do not have much transaction, so they themselves manage the business. So that usually they themselves will go and set the targets. Is it alright? Next. Number 4. As when the managers lack of skills for the budget preparations. Number 5. When the precise coordination is actually needed with another company within the group. Sometimes for the group benefit, we have to make a decision on what is important, what we have to do, even though loss making also we go ahead. So we need specific requests to support the other part of the business. Okay, so in this, our strategic level will discuss with their strategic level, so that usually for staff we don't involve. Are you okay? So that's what we have for what approach? Top down. What has happened to the other one? Bottom up approach. Or in another way, we name it as participative style budgeting. What is participative style budgeting? Again, Robert Anthony's hierarchy. Strategic, tactical, and operational. As in, they will have a discussion. So, to set their own targets, then we try to come up with the budgets. Excuse me. Excuse me. So, when you set the own targets, will you put yourself into easy or difficult targets? Then you may set easy target, which a budgetary slack may arise, and it costs budgetary slack for the business. However, what is the good things about this? You set your own target, that means they will have a motivation. So what is participative? Means we involve the staff in the budget preparation process. We involve the staff in the budget preparation process. However, whenever involve discussion, would it be fast or slow? It will be slow. That's why we name it as a time consuming. As we always go for meeting, discuss, and sometimes when you go for meeting, at the end you don't achieve any objective. Okay, if you're in the business, right, you realize that the boss call you for meeting, you know, but after the meeting, what is conclusion? She said there's nothing happened, you know. Yes. So that's why it's usually slow. So that's what we have for the participative. What would it be appropriate? One is, would it be appropriate to use this? It's appropriate for the stable business environment to apply this type of budgeting. So that it is not suitable for those businesses with the dynamic business environment. For example, my business will grow 3% every year. 3%, and which is very stable kind of things. So you can let your staff to do it because more or less it will be the same like last year. But if your company involved in the technology, usually for the sales from one year to another, it will have a significant changes. So that usually we will not allow staff to actually involve in budgeting that much because they are unable to estimate what's going to happen to the market. So that's what it requires the strategic level to go and do the budgeting. Are you okay? So you can tell from your business, right? Your business, is it very similar to the previous year? If it's yes, it's a stable business environment. If your business is always keep on changing from year to year, that means you are the dynamic. Dynamic, that means it's sometimes up, sometimes down, we are not sure. Are you okay? So the dynamic business is usually not appropriate to use the bottom-up approach. Next. So, however, what happens if is when the staff prepare the budget, strategic level, they might not agree. Therefore, we have another budgeting. So, what we name it? is a negotiated style budgeting. As a all parties agree on a final budget. So for strategic level, so they will achieve what they wanted. So what they wanted by the strategy, and for operational is what is the possibility to implement, or is a realistic objective. Which can be achieved by the operational staff. So that's what we name it as negotiated style budgeting. What do we have for the rolling budget? It could be either based on monthly or quarterly or even half yearly. For example, if our rolling based on quarterly, our first time, which is the initial budget, so for initial budget, we will prepare for the full 12 months period. Subsequently, when the first quarter expired, what do? We will have to add on another quarter. So at the end of the day, if you realize what happened to my budget is still for the full 12 months period, it is still over the 12 months period. So we add on another quarter. So it will be continuously if it's based on quarterly. So that's why, what is the benefit of rolling budget? You'll be able to reflect according to the existing market conditions. But what is the problem here? Would it be time consuming? Time consuming. Further, whatever that we budgeted, it will not be the same with the actual at the end of the day. Am I right? You spend so much of time for budgeting, at the end you don't follow it. It will still be different from the actual. So what for you prepare the budget? That's what we have for the rolling budgets. So how do we define rolling budgets? As the full 12 months period of the budget will be initiated. So when the one quarter expired, so that another quarter on the following year will be added on. To form the 12 months budget again. So that's what we have related to these rolling budgets. So that's what we have related to the rolling budget. Go back to whatever that we had. So in post-style budgeting, what do we have? You can actually refer this to page number 21, 22, 23, number 16, and activity-based budgeting, page number 80. Everything, most of the time it will be for the MCQs, except for these two, it could be calculation as well. Sorry. Except for the first one, it may involve a calculation. So you have to study all the advantages as well as the disadvantages. What is activity-based budgeting? What do we use? We use activity-based costing for overheads. We use cost per driver. Still remember your ABC? APP? ABC, activity-based costing? Yes. So next, I would like to explain what is beyond-based budgeting. Come. BBB. Beyond base, what is a philosophy? They say that we should ignore the budget. Why? Because budget is very rigid, which is not flexible. It discourages the innovation. As we are unable to think out of the box. As if we just follow the budget, we may fail to explore the better opportunity. Outside the budgets. whatever that your budget, it may not so the budget may not be realistic to implement. Sometimes your ideas is good, but to carry out the ideas, it may not be realistic. Do you agree? Sometimes you think I can study 3 subjects, but when you study 1 subject also you feel exhausted. Yes. So that's a problem. Whatever that you plan, right, it may not be going to be materialized. Okay? So that's why do we need the budget. So beyond this budgeting, what did he say? He said we shouldn't prepare any budgets at all. We should just go ahead based on the current opportunity, whatever that we have, we just do. No need to think about the budget. No, I say beyond base budgeting said so. And it came up previously in the exam for the 2 marks MCQ. Okay, so that's what we have related to the beyond base budgeting. Are you okay? So next. Other aspects of a budgeting. Remember what did I say? Budget is equivalent to setting the targets. There are 2 types of control: feedback and a feed-forward control. Feedback is before or after. Feedback is after. Feed-forward is before. If you foresee it's going to happen, you try to take action to prevent the mistake. Okay? Before it's happened. For example, what belongs to the feed-forward control? Cash budget. If you foresee you got no money next month, what do? Can you wait until next month only you think what to do? No. You have to take action by now, am I right? Make sure you limit your spending. So that's what we have for the cash budget. It belongs to the feed-forward control. And what do we need to know about this? Other than the feedback and feed-forward control, you have to use a spreadsheet or the Excel. No Excel? In the budget's preparation. So what you need to know is your principal budget factor. For example, principal budget factor in another way is our limiting factors. Somehow, if we do not have enough labor or material, so our budget will work according to our limits. Are you right? The budget will work according to the limits by the business. So, next. Administration of the budget. So, how do we administer the budget? So number one, you must have a budget committee. So to coordinate all the departmentals together. So you must give it, a budget manual must be given. You must have a budget committee. And your budget manual. You know what is your budget manual? You know what is manual? Do you know what is user manual? If you don't know how to use one item, you refer to the user manual. So that's what is a set of instructions on how to prepare the budgets. However, what is the problems with this thing? As in, usually something that is prevent is a human error. Are you okay? As there's an error in the formula, it could lead to the wrong outcome. So as in sometimes, right, when you put down the formula in your Excel spreadsheet, but if it's one formula wrong, the remaining will be affected, am I right? Okay. So that's what we have for the spreadsheet. So you can refer to page 25 for this. Budget as a target. What do you have for strategic level? What they have to do? They have to set the long-term objective. And what happened to tactical? They will need to allocate the resources. Operational, they will have to carry out the daily routine tasks. So, remember, objective, it must fulfill what are the criteria of objective? It must have the 5 criteria. We name it as SMART. Did you study this one before? Objective, it must be, the first is specific. It must be measurable. And it must be achievable. And it must be result orientated. And it must be time bounded. That's why when you say the objective, it must fulfill 5 different criteria. If I say I want to pass my F5, is that objective? No. You must tell me, when do you want to pass? How long? And you must let me know how many marks you want to get, to be specific. Whether the marks that you actually set, would it be achievable? realistic. Okay, so we have to fulfill several criteria. So the objective is, I say, I want to pass my performance management subject. That is not objective. So you have to say, I want to pass my performance management subject in 2 months' time to achieve 60 marks and above. Then this is your objective. Because I think 60 is achievable. And it could be measured because above 50 is already passed. Alright? And I would say within 2 months, right? Yes or no? So 2 months means it is within the time frame. Okay, so that is only your objective. You cannot say, I want to pass my paper. This is not an objective, huh? Okay, it's too general, it's not specific enough. Does you understand? So now, I would like to show you one past exam paper related to the calculation. A little bit. Take a look at this. June 2009, question 5. Northland. June 2009, question 5. Which budget they want you to calculate? Overhead budget for 2010. What's the budget for the road repairs for 2010? What is the problem associated with expected value? And explain why a contingency for the road repairs might be needed. So there are how many requirements? There are 2. Yes or no? Because and that means number 1 and number 2. Explain the process involved in ZBB. How many stages? 3 stages. How many marks? 3 marks. So 1 mark given for each, as we did explain already, right? Yes. So I will skip this one, because I already gave you the introduction earlier. So now, let's take a look at the question. What do we have? Northlands, major town and cities, maintained by local government, funded by central government. So now, they want to submit a budget to the central government in order to get the money they are needed. So now you are giving for the 2010 budget preparation. What is the overhead for 2009? There are 3. So 120, which is what is the incremental percentage? 5. Central wages? 3%, but not number 1. New staff will be added. How much? It's $12,000, but this 12,000 is for which year? 2010 already, right? So remember, what do? We take the 2009, we add on the incremental, so we will have 2010 budget, am I right? So don't forget, this 12,000 is already for which year? It's already for 2010, so do not add on additional how many percent? 3%. 3% is only from 2009, you add on the 3%. So the 12,000 you will just add it directly as part of 2010 budget. A move towards paperless office, which is for stationery. Expected, it will reduce the stationery cost by how many percent? What do you mean by 40%? That means our stationery cost will only be how many percent? Will be remaining 60% for the 2010, am I right? Yes, reduce by. If they say reduce to 40, then slowly multiply with 40. But if it's reduced by 40, that means we have to account for the remaining 60. Okay? So, shall we prepare the first one? What do we have? A. What budget? Overheads budget. For which year? 2010. So I think it's quite straightforward. First, what do we have? It's only 3 marks, so property cost from 2009, how much was it? 120. We'll only add on how many percent? 5% to get for the 2010. So what do we have for 2010? 126. Next, central wages. For 2009, what do we have? 150. How many percent incremental? 3%. But other than this, for 2010, we have another, how many thousand? 12,000. Does you understand? Remember, this is what we do. You don't go and add on 12,000, we add another 3%. Because 12,000 is already for the figures of 2010. But the 150,000 is a figure for 2009. Are you okay? This is for 2009. So to budget 2010, we add on 3%. But this 12,000 is already for the amount for 2010, right? It's already after the 3%. So how much is the total? 166? 500. And finally, what do we have for the stationery? 25,000 reduced by 40. That means we still have another 60. So how much? 50. So how many marks you get for this? 3. 1, 2, 3. Yes, that's all we have. B. What they want you to calculate? The budgets for road repairs. Come, let's take a look at this story. So, very quick, we spend 5 minutes for this. Count. What do you have for the road repair story? In 2010, expected how many meters of road? we need to repair. This is already for 2010. But we need to have extra how many percent? 10%. So 2002 add on 10%, that means how many meters? Yeah, 2200. You know how I add on 10%, right? Next, what do we have? In 2009, how much is your road repair cost? In average, 15,000. But this excludes any cost effect of extreme weather condition. But we are unsure about the weather condition, whether is it good, poor, or bad. So the probability is 0.7, 0.1, and 0.2. If you have the good, the repair cost, it will be exactly 15. But if it's poor, your repair cost will increase by 10%. If it's bad, then it will increase by 25. However, whatever the cost 15,000, it is based on which year? 2009. But from 2009 to 2010, we expected to have inflation 5%. So don't forget the 15,000 is based on the 2009. But now we are not budget for 2009, you know. We are doing the budget for which year? 2010. So for all the calculation, it must add on 5% for the inflation. So, however, I'm not sure about how much is it, but everything depends on the weather conditions. It could be good, poor, or bad. How do you tell the root condition between, how do you identify between poor and bad? My first-time students say, you know, oh, if the hole smaller, when you bump into the hole, it don't kena your bumper, that means it is poor. Bad means, right, when you get into the hole, your tires, it will hit your bumper, then this is bad. So we identify like that. I think it is quite subjective, am I right? To classify between the poor and the bad conditions of the roads. How do you call extreme weather? If it's super hot, will it cause the road melted? Or maybe it's extreme cold, or we have raining non-stop and it's flat and our road spoiled. So is that considered poor or bad? Or maybe only the earthquake considered bad condition. So that's why you see it's very subjective, you know. However, they tell you the probability is what? What is the probability? 0.7, 0.1, 0.2. So you got likely more, I think most likely you get earthquake than the flood. I don't know. It's based on my estimation because higher chance, right? Bad condition. So that's why remember I told you probability must be always 1. In average, I don't care whether in which condition, but how many meters we need to repair in 2010 after take into consideration of contingency. But how much is your repairing cost per meter? 15,000. But the 15,000 is for which year? For the last year. For the coming year, 2010, we have to add on inflation 5%. What if it's poor condition? 15,000. Add on inflation 5%. However, but repair cost will increase by additional 10. Yes or no? And what do you have for this? 50,000 per meter. We get for the 2010. For the repair cost will increase by 25% if it's for the bad weather. So can you please calculate what is your expected value based on the given probability? 577.5. Okay. I think this one is wrong, right? What do you have for this? 866. 2.5. Three, 6, 7, 2, 9. So in average, my root repair cost is going to be 36729. So the writing part I will do it after your break. It's okay?